Is this the week Atlanta finally gets some injury luck, or are we about to watch another Falcons heartbreaker unfold? Sunday can't come fast enough, can it? The season opener between the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers is sitting right. They're on the horizon, and you can practically feel the electricity building throughout the Southeast. Division rivalries don't get much spicier than this matchup, and both teams are chomping at the bit to set the tone for what could be a season-defining campaign. But here's the thing that has every Falcons fan holding their breath right now. We're getting that familiar pregame anxiety that comes with injury reports, and honestly, it's giving us flashbacks to seasons where one twisted ankle changed everything. Today's Thursday practice reports are in, and while there's some cautiously optimistic news mixed in there, there's also that one name that has everyone in Redbird Nation sweating bullets. Let's dive into what's really happening behind the scenes, as both teams prepare for what promises to be an absolute war on Sunday afternoon. Starting with our beloved Falcons, the injury situation is about as stable as you could hope for heading into a Week 1 divisional showdown. The Thursday practice report didn't bring any earth-shattering surprises, which in the NFL world is basically the equivalent of winning the lottery. Sometimes no news really is good news, especially when you're talking about keeping your key players healthy for the most important games of the season. We did see a couple of additions to the injury report, but before you start panicking and reaching for your lucky Falcons jersey, take a deep breath. Ray McLeod and AJ Terrell both showed up on the list, but this is exactly the kind of roster management that smart teams do. Both players were held out for rest purposes, not because they're nursing some mysterious injury that could derail their season. It's Week 1, folks. These guys are fresh, they're ready, and the coaching staff is just being smart about managing their workload during practice. But then we get to the name that has everyone's attention, and honestly, it's the one that could make or break how this offense functions on Sunday. Darnell Mooney has been listed as limited for the past 2 practice sessions, and the word coming out of Flowery Branch is that he's being considered a game-time decision for Sunday's opener. Now, let's talk about what Darnell Mooney means to this Falcons offense, because if you're not fully grasping the significance of his potential absence, you're missing a huge piece of the puzzle. Mooney isn't just another receiver in Arthur Smith's system. He's the deep threat that keeps opposing safeties honest, the speed element that opens up the entire middle of the field for guys like Drake London and Kyle Pitts. When Michael Penix Jr. drops back to pass, having Mooney running routes downfield completely changes the defensive equation. Suddenly, that safety who might want to cheat up and help stop the run or cover the tight end has to think twice. That cornerback who might want to play more aggressive press coverage knows he could get burned if he's not perfect with his technique. The ripple effects of Mooney's presence, or absence, go way beyond just his individual production. This is about the entire offensive ecosystem functioning the way it's designed to function. Without that deep threat element, opposing defenses can compress their coverage, load up the box against the run game, and generally make life much more difficult for a quarterback making his first NFL start. And that brings us to another layer of complexity in this whole situation. We're not talking about a veteran quarterback who has years of experience adapting to different personnel packages and game planning around missing weapons. Michael Penix Jr. is about to make his NFL debut, and having his full complement of weapons available could be the difference between a confident, successful first outing and a struggle session that sets a negative tone for the entire season. 3-1. Encouraging news is that Mooney has been participating in practice, even if it's in a limited capacity. That suggests whatever he's dealing with isn't a catastrophic injury that would sideline him for weeks. The fact that he's out there running routes, even if not at full speed, means the medical staff and coaching staff believe there's a real chance he'll be ready to contribute on Sunday. But game time decision is one of those phrases that can drive fans absolutely crazy. It means we're going to be refreshing Twitter feeds and checking injury reports right up until kickoff, hoping for some definitive word about whether our deep threat will be suiting up. Meanwhile, across the division, Tampa Bay is dealing with their own injury concerns, and some of them could actually work in Atlanta's favor. The Buccaneers saw some positive developments in their Thursday practice, which is both good and bad news depending on your perspective. Hassan Reddick, who missed Wednesday's practice for personal reasons, was back to full participation on Thursday. For Falcons fans, this isn't exactly the news you want to hear. Reddick is the kind of pass rusher who can single-handedly disrupt an offensive game plan, especially against a rookie quarterback making his first start. Having him healthy and ready to go means Michael Penix Jr. is going to have to deal with legitimate NFL-caliber pressure from the very first snap. Cade Otton also progressed from limited to full participation after dealing with a groin injury. Otton has developed into a reliable target for whoever's throwing passes in Tampa Bay, and his presence gives their offense another dimension in the middle of the field. Again, not exactly what you want to see if you're hoping Tampa Bay would be playing short-handed. The one bit of roster management news from Tampa was Mike Evans being added to the injury report for rest purposes. This is standard operating procedure for a veteran receiver of Evans's caliber. At this stage of his career and with his injury history, it makes perfect sense for the Bucs to give him some maintenance days during practice while keeping him fresh for game day. But here's where things get interesting from a strategic standpoint. Both teams are essentially going to be playing with full-strength lineups, which means Sunday's game is going to come down to execution, game planning, and which team can make fewer critical mistakes. For the Falcons, having most of their key players healthy is crucial, but it also means there are no excuses. If Mooney does play, and all signs point to that being likely, then this offense should have all the weapons it needs to move the ball effectively against Tampa Bay's defense. The pressure is really on the coaching staff to put these players in position to succeed. We've seen too many seasons where the Falcons had talent on paper, but couldn't quite put it all together when it mattered most. This year feels different, but feeling different and actually being different are two completely separate things. What makes this injury situation even more interesting is the timing. Week 1 injuries are always tricky because teams haven't had the chance to see how their depth players perform in real game situations. If Mooney can't go or if he's clearly not at 100%, we might get an early look at some of the younger receivers on the roster stepping up in bigger roles. The reality is that successful NFL teams find ways to win regardless of who's available. The great franchises have depth, they have versatility, and they have coaches who can adjust on the fly when circumstances change. This Sunday will be an early test of whether the 2025 Falcons have those qualities. From a bigger picture perspective, staying healthy in Week 1 is about more than just winning one game. It's about building momentum, establishing confidence, and setting a tone for how the season is going to unfold. Teams that come out of their opener banged up and demoralized often struggle to recover, while teams that get healthy contributions from their key players can ride that positive energy for weeks. The bottom line is this: Sunday's game between the Falcons and Buccaneers is shaping up to be exactly what division rivalry games should be. Two relatively healthy teams going head-to-head with everything on the line. No excuses, no major injury concerns, just football at its purest level. Darnell Mooney's status might be the final piece of the puzzle, but even if he's not at 100%, this Falcons offense has enough weapons to put points on the board. The question isn't whether they can move the ball, it's whether they can do it consistently enough to win a division game on the road. What's your take on the injury situation heading into Sunday? Are you confident the Falcons can win regardless of who's available, or do you think Mooney's health could be the deciding factor in this matchup? Let us know in the comments, and make sure to smash that like button if you're as pumped as we are for the season to finally get started.